Hi, this is King of Review. If the following system of linear equations has no solution, find the value of constant a. You can see we have a here, here, and here. So let's take a look at this setup here. What is this? Well, this represents a system of two equations. So if we have two equations that are in the form ax plus by equals e, and cx plus dy equals f, then we can represent this with the following matrix equation. Our first matrix is going to be the coefficient matrix. So the coefficients of the x and y terms, a, b, c, and d. And then we'll multiply this by a matrix that contains the x and y variables. And this is equal to a matrix that contains the constants, E and F. Now we're told that this system has no solution. Now let's think about this. If we have two linear equations and we're trying to solve for x and y, that means we're trying to find the point at which the equations intersect. Now if we have no solution, that means that we have two lines that are parallel, because we know that parallel lines never intersect. So that's the situation that we're dealing with here. Now some matrices do not have an inverse, and you can tell if a matrix has an inverse by evaluating its determinant. If the determinant equals 0, then it does not have an inverse. Now the same situation goes here. If a system does not have a solution, so no solution, which is represented here, then we know that the determinant of the coefficient matrix will be equal to 0. So if you remember, a determinant is a number that represents a square matrix. And we figure that out by looking at this. We're going to take the product of the main diagonal, so A times D, and subtract the product of the other diagonal, which is C times B. And again, if there's no solution, then this should be equal to 0. If no solution. So let's do that here for our equation. We want to find the determinant of this coefficient matrix. So we're going to take the product of the main diagonal, so -2 times -4, and subtract the product of the other diagonal. So we have -3 plus a times -3 minus a. And we're setting this equal to 0. -2 times -4, this equals 8. And then minus, now what we want to do is use FOIL to multiply this portion out. -3 times -3, that equals 9. -3 times -a, that's 3a. And a times -3 is -3a. So those cancel out. 3a plus a -3a cancel out. And then finally we have a times -a, which is -a squared. And this is equal to 0. So now we want to distribute this negative to both items within the parentheses. So we have 8 minus 9 plus a squared equals 0. 8 minus 9 is -1, so we have -1 plus a squared equals 0. We want to factor this. So a squared is here, and then if we have plus 1, and minus 1. That works because a times a is a squared, a times negative 1 is negative a, and 1 times a is a, so those two terms would cancel out, and then we have 1 times negative 1, which represents this negative 1 here. So now, using the zero product property, in order to get a 0 here, we know that either one of these terms must be equal to 0 in order to get a product of 0. So either a plus 1 must equal 0 or a minus 1 must equal 0 to get this product. So now let's solve for a. We're going to subtract 1 on both sides here, and we have a equals negative 1. And here we'll add 1 on both sides. So we have a equals positive 1. So now we have two possible solutions here, but we need to check which one's correct. So let's first think about when a is equal to 1. So if a is equal to 1, we know that these values for a must be 1. So let's fill out this matrix equation when a is equal to 1. We'll set this up. So I'm just substituting in a 1 for a, so we still have negative 2 here, then negative 3 minus 1, that's going to give us a negative 4 here. Negative 3 plus 1, that's going to equal negative 2, and then we still have the negative 4 here. X and y for the variables, and then negative 4 minus 1, that equals negative 5, and then we have a negative 5 here. So if we were to write these out as linear equations, we'd have negative 2x minus 4y equals negative 5. So I'm just following this setup here. And then our other equation is negative 2x minus 4y equals negative 5. So what do you notice about these two equations? Well, they're exactly the same. That means if we have a line like this, the other line lies right on top of it because they're the same line. So this means there's infinite number of solutions. Infinite solutions. So this one would not be correct. Again, we're looking for one that has no solution. So now let's look at when a equals negative 1. If we set up the matrix equation here, again, I'm just substituting in a negative 1 for a when we look back up here on the original equation here. So we have negative 2 here. Then we have negative 3 minus a negative 1. That's going to give us a negative 2. Negative 3 plus a negative 1. That gives us negative 4. And we still have a negative 4 here. X and y. Then negative 4 minus a negative 1. That gives us negative 3. And then here we have negative 5. So I'm going to write the equations for these right here. So this would be negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 3 and negative 4x minus 4y equals negative 5. So these two equations here would have no solution because they would produce parallel lines. And we know that they produce parallel lines because if we put them into mx plus b form, y equals mx plus b, this is slope-intercept form. So I want the y by itself on one side. So we have negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 3. This gives us negative 2y equals 2x minus 3. And getting the y by itself, I have y equals 2x minus 3 all divided by negative 2. Now when you look at the slope, that's right here, we can write this as y equals negative 1x plus 3/2. So the slope is negative 1 here. Now let's rearrange the other equation into slope-intercept form. So we have negative 4x minus 4y equals negative 5. And when we rearrange, we get negative 4y equals 4x minus 5. And dividing by negative 4 on both sides, we get y equals 4x divided by negative 4. That's a negative 1x. And then we have plus 5/4. So you notice the slope here is negative 1, and the slope on the first equation is negative 1. And when we have the same slope, that produces parallel lines. So we know that there's no solution. So the correct answer that produces no solution is A equals negative 1. Letter C. Thanks for watching.